Hello, so this is a tutorial for using Naija in Super Meat Boy speedrunning. She is unlocked at 50 bandages and is the best character in 106 and most ILs in the game. There will be a save game linked in the description with her unlocked and all the levels unlocked as well. I will preface this video by saying Naija is better with keyboard over controller in that 5 out of the 5. I'm pretty sure best Naija players all use keyboard, so yeah, better be using that. Here is how you change the controls in-game. Local disk, program files 86, Steam, Steam apps, common, Super Meat Boy, button map. And then you can change it, everything here. Mine are on, here's just what I use. There's also other stuff if you want to also set up a program if you want that does dual for you, but I'm not talking about that. Smile. If for whatever reason controller isn't your preference, there are a lot of ways you can try to play Naija. For instance, Vorpal plays Naija like this. His controller isn't upside down, but this is more comfortable to show. Like, his hands going from above the controller. Like, it does it like this. It's basically keyboard, but yeah, just showing. Okay, and now for the basic controls of Naija. So like Meat Boy, she can obviously walk, but cannot run. She is slower at just walking on the ground. She can jump and wall jump. Crazy, I know. That is everything she can do in the default state. Now for her float state. If you hold the special button, she will go into her float state. Which does a lot actually. It slows her down both horizontally and vertically. And she can only be in this state in the air or on a ceiling. Like, it will cancel whenever you touch the ground or hit the floor. Ugh. And now for the dash state, you can only dash where you can float, so you can't technically dash on the wall or the ground. And only in the air. This is like the crux of Naija, so you normally just want to have this up going on as much as possible and not have any of the normal state or float stuff going on most of the time. Generally speaking. Direction of the dash. And Naija's dash is actually a vector, so it is affected by gravity and when you time it. As you can see, you get different heights for different points you are and you're falling. Okay. Something I forgot to mention is that while you are jumping, if you are jumping and go into the dash state, something I forgot to mention is when you are jumping and go into the dash state, it will cancel your jump. Entirely. You'll have no upward momentum. Now here is the super dashing tutorial, which despite being a one-frame trick, can actually be done fairly consistently as you have full control of your inputs, and it's surprisingly easy to get muscle memory for them. However, you do need a consistent technique for it. There are actually two ways to do it. One is to basically click the special button, then click the jump button, kinda fast. I'm messing up the super here because I'm rusty, but there it is. I know this is how Late Dog does them. And the other way would be to click them both at the same time, but click them very lightly. If you would try to do this technique, just know that like you have to actually be clicking them lightly, or you'll possibly develop really bad habits. Now, as to actually chain dashes, which is honestly a lot more important than how to actually super dash, is like chaining dashes proficiently. Now, there isn't really a trick to it, except knowing that after you dash, you cannot do anything besides like change direction until your 10 frames are over. So yeah, if you want to improve this, I honestly recommend just like going to 1-4 and just doing this a lot. It's really good. I know like before I did my my Forest IW, I probably played this level for like 10 hours. More like 8. I got this good timed and this scumbag beat it randomly. Pretty annoyed about it. Here's a demonstration of me doing both techniques with a hot video aid. Excuse for us. Here is the first method of like doing 2 taps. And here is the second method. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm terrible at that. And now I'm gonna talk about another like playstyle preferencing, but this is, keep in mind this is like a million times less important than what I just talked about. So, but I still think it's worth like bringing up. So obviously when you dash from a wall, like you can 180 from it, right? But so what most people will do is they just like will use both directions for their outward and inward part of the dash. Like, yeah, it's just a basic 180, right? But what you can also do is, well, look what happens if you don't hold direction. You're just gonna like dash outward, right? Yeah. Now, so what you can do with that is you can actually hold no direction from a wall and just like time your direction in. Now, this probably isn't that important for like most levels, honestly, but it is good to know if you want to like maybe do an IL with like super intensive 180s or whatever. Because Late Dog is like the only person that does this, I'm pretty sure. Like, he does this like when he does runs, which I think is weird, but yeah, it might be why he's like super good at like chaining 180s and such. He's like by far the best player at that. It's not even funny. So yeah. Also, I guess I can mention that you can also do 2 if you want. You can also change direction twice in your dash, which also not useful that often, but it's good to know. And same thing goes from the ground. If you just like dash from the ground and don't like hold direction, you're still gonna get your dash, right? It's like a lot easier to like do that with, to like do an S dash if you start like holding no direction or whatever. Like on your keys, do no direction on your keys, then quickly input left and right inputs. Okay, now also a playstyle thing. Well, it's not even a playstyle thing. It's just good to know. Is that if you play on keyboard and you hold both directions, you're always gonna go left, like no matter what. You see I'm holding both keys, right? Yeah. It's good to know. So sometimes, because of that, you can think like, if you want to do a 180, you can be like, well, I just have to time clicking left and not time like releasing right or whatever. If you do this, you do have to time the release of it. Which also not important that often, but it's good to know. Although most of the time you will just learn like perfect alternating. But yeah. just wanted to get that out there. Okay. So something that a lot of runners get is they get this float state. Now this is like almost always bad. And all this means is that you messed up your buffer dash. So now a buffer dash is when you dash on a ceiling, but you aren't going to get your refresh dash like after you exit it. And to be clear, like if it would have refreshed, your dash would have refreshed if you were like on the ceiling 10 frames after you release dash. So whenever you have like a ceiling where you want to do multiple dashes, you have to be like, you have to do multiple dashes and it's not going to refresh your dash. You have to be very careful on making sure you click the dash button twice and the second one is a release. Like, it's like very important to like understand that IMO. Now, another thing. Remember earlier how I was talking about chaining dashes? And that you can't act out of your dash, unless you're on a ceiling, until 10 frames after you release dash. So this will apply when you dash on the ground, on a wall, or on a ceiling. But it's interesting, it's more interesting on a ceiling, because like, that buffer dash, it still applies like here on the second dash. You can't dash until 10 frames after you release dash on like that second dash I did here. This is like giga important to understand when you're doing your like, when you're doing like your level routing and when you're like doing it in runs. Like you have to be like time conscientious about that, of your chaining, to make sure you're like not losing time and like inputting properly. It's like more of a problem on like longer ceilings, whereas like, I think it's more common you'll mess up on longer ceilings. I don't know if you like don't understand this. Bro, I'm messing this level up. RNG level. And yeah. So basically, every time you release dash and you get the proper dash, you cannot wall jump until 10 frames after. That's like super important with like ceiling dashes and like I see so many people like not doing it properly. So really want to get that point in. And yeah, there's my ceiling dash slash buffer dash tutorial. This was like really hard to explain, so if you don't understand, just like, I guess YouTube comment or like DM me on Discord or something. I don't know. And yeah. Now for some random Naija tech slash dash properties that I didn't mention in the video. So, yeah, because this video is really scuffed. So one thing, you cannot detach from a wall when you're in the dash state. You just can't do it. And also, it's definitely worth knowing that, okay, so the chaining thing, Naija will still slide up. Like Naija's still going up after the 10 frames, which is good to know. And if she it's really, I'll just go to 5-2 and show. So, time really bad. So if you get that, if you get the blue state after you leave this like wall, that means you left the wall at like 10 frames after you release dash. But if you like get this, that means you left the wall before the 10 frames. So yeah, it's actually pretty good to know. I'm like upset I didn't mention it earlier. And yeah, so another thing about Naija is that, wrong level, is that her dash speed is like a constant. So like here, I'm like going constantly the same speed regardless of when I dash. And if you want to do ceiling dashes like this, you like just have to touch it on, not touch it, like release dash a maximum or a minimum of 6 times a second, which is pretty easy to do. And dang, I didn't want to die. Also worth mentioning, if you're holding down the dash button, you actually go, you will go slower if you're like holding down the dash button. So ideally you want to do a bunch of releases, but it's not the end of the world if you like hold it down some. Ideally you just want to do a bunch of light taps. But it's more important to know that like the faster you mash, you won't necessarily go faster. So just 6 times a second, nice and easy for like corridors like this, or just really open ceilings. So another tech is a mid-air super, which you just do by like, you have to just like have 0 frames of flow, which you can skip by just like tapping the jump button really fast. This is not useful on many levels, but it is good to know. And hard to do. Okay. So another tech that's like useful in like full game runs is this float glitch thing. Like this like state is the exact same as the float glitch you get like after you exit the ceiling. And sometimes useful because if you jump you actually do go like up pretty fast. It makes a lot of like super vertical base levels super easy. So yeah, you can combine it with auto jump, but to do it, you just, I guess I can do it again. I might have always said it, I don't know. You just have dash held, you pause, you release dash, you unpause, and then you have it. Oh wow, I messed up my 180. So a thing to know is that if you click the jump button on a wall, like this kind of ties back to like chaining, but if you like jump too fast, you'll either get a slide or a dash cancel. Like that was a dash cancel, and that's also a dash cancel. A dash cancel like kind of slows down your dash. I don't know the best way to describe it, but it cancels like your momentum kinda and slows you down, but a dash but a dash slide, like, it just works like a normal slide, right? I will get it eventually. Oh. Bear with me. Like that was a dash slide. Look, I'm zooming, dude. Yeah. So that's like good to know. So, oh, I didn't actually explain it. So, 10 frames after, right? Like earlier, when you're the chaining dash thing. 10 frames after you release dash, you can jump. But if you click the jump button on frame 9, you'll get a slide. Like that. And if you do it before, you just get the dash cancel thing. Like any time before, doesn't matter when. Shitty dash. Alright. And yeah. That is how that works. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is like clips. I honestly, I have no idea how these things work, but they are very useful in 106. Like, basically all you do is like super dash and it'll work most of the time. There is some clips you will super dash and it won't work. And I'm not sure why. I don't have enough like game knowledge to actually explain this, but I know it's possible. Also, some clips you don't need to super for. That's for half block clips. Yeah. Okay. Basically, all you need to know is if there is a half block, you can probably clip it. Not how I do it. Like that. Like there I didn't even super. But like, I don't know. Just know that there are ways to do those. They're probably good. Now for full block clips, I know how Mate thinks he does these is that, okay, for full block clips you can only do these every third frame in a corner like this 90-degree thingy here. And okay, I just did it. Cool, wow, I don't have to try. Like how Matthew thinks he does it is like he does like a super dash 180 that's apparently frame perfect, but that's how in theory you do those, but I'm not actually sure if that's needed. And yeah, they're in the game, it's good to know. Yeah, anyways, that is everything that I can think. I might have forgotten something. This is like a super scuff tutorial. But yeah. I will link the Discord in the Meat Boy speedrunning Discord in the description. Okay, bye.